Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's be completely honest for a second. Right now, as you clicked on this video, what were you doing just a couple of minutes ago? You were probably sitting on your couch, laying in bed, or avoiding some pending paperwork while mindlessly scrolling through an endless abyss of bad news, existential dread, and dance trends on your phone. You were doom scrolling. We all do it. It's the modern psychological trap of 2026. But then, out of nowhere, an algorithm, a friend, or maybe just pure luck serves you a clip. A specific compilation of a fictional paper company located in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And suddenly, your screen time doesn't feel like a waste anymore. Today, we are deep diving into a viral compilation aptly titled Stop Doom Scrolling and Watch This Office Compilation. Why does a show that wrapped up over a decade ago still possess the magnetic power to pull us out of our real-world anxieties? Why do these specific characters with their deeply flawed personalities and archaic mid-2000s office setups feel safer and more comforting than anything else on modern television? In this comprehensive video essay and review, we are breaking down the anatomy of this iconic compilation. We'll analyze the dynamic shifts between Michael and Jim, the pure physical absurdity of the parkour era, the structural brilliance of the infamous dinner party episode, and why Dunder Mifflin remains the ultimate psychological antidote to modern burnout. So, put your phones on Do Not Disturb, grab your favorite beverage, and let's step inside the bullpen of Dunder Mifflin. The compilation kicks off with a sequence that perfectly encapsulates the early season dynamic between Michael Scott and Jim Halpert. It begins with an innocent conversation about lunch. Jim is perfectly content eating his mundane ham and cheese sandwich in the isolation of the break room. But Michael, driven by an insatiable, almost desperate need for companionship and validation, insists on taking him out. Look at the progression here. Michael first suggests spreading out a blanket in the break room for a picnic to talk about you-know-who, a direct reference to Pam. When Jim immediately rejects this overly intimate and unprofessional setup, Michael pivots to his comfort zone, Hooters. Now, for anyone analyzing the writing of The Office, this Hooters sequence is a goldmine of character study. Michael's explanation for why he loves the establishment is beautifully simplistic, the boobs and the hot wings. But the comedy doesn't come from the crude joke. It comes from Michael's total lack of self-awareness when they actually arrive. When their waitress Dana introduces herself, Michael immediately tries to establish a bizarre hierarchy. He claims he and Jim are brothers, then pivots to fraternity brothers, and then delivers a classic Michaelism about how he rushed fraternities but didn't believe in paying for friendships. The writer's brilliant hit us with his inner monologue right after. Fortunately, no offers were made, which was good, so nobody's feelings got hurt. It's hilarious because it exposes his deep-seated childhood trauma of rejection under the guise of an arrogant joke. But the peak of this scene, and arguably one of the best linguistic jokes in the show, is when Michael orders. He asks the waitress, "How is your chicken breast?" She gives a standard menu response, and Michael replies, "I will have a chicken breast, hold the chicken." Let's dissect that for a second. If you hold the chicken from a chicken breast, you are literally just asking for the anatomical part he is subconsciously obsessing over. The waitress's deadpan response, "Is that what you really want?" causes Michael to immediately fold under pressure and order a gourmet hot dog. This is classic Michael Scott. Massive bravado, zero follow-through. And look at how Jim handles this. Jim is the audience surrogate. When Michael asks Jim what he likes best about Pam, Jim gives a genuine, sweet answer. She's easy to talk to, has a great sense of humor. Michael's response? Her boobs, definitely. It's crude, it's inappropriate, but because it's delivered with the childlike innocence of Michael Scott, it borders on absurd rather than purely offensive. The segment ends with Toby Flenderson, the ultimate joy killer in Michael's eyes, confronting him about using the corporate credit card. We find out Michael previously lost his card for spending $80 at a magic shop, justifying it by saying he put a cigarette through a quarter to impress potential client. This highlights the ongoing theme of the show. Michael views his office not as a business, but as a theater where he is the lead actor, and the corporate budget is simply his production funding. We move from the awkward silences of a business lunch straight into pure, unadulterated physical comedy. The parkour cold open is legendary, and seeing it in this compilation reminds us of why Season 6 had such a distinct energy. Michael introduces this as the internet sensation of 2004, noting its appearance in a Bond film. The premise of parkour is simple, getting from point A to point B as creatively as possible. But as Jim brilliantly observes from his desk, technically, they are doing parkour as long as point A is delusion and point B is the hospital. What makes this sequence an absolute masterpiece of physical comedy is the commitment of the actors. Steve Carell, Rainn Wilson, and Ed Helms threw themselves into these stunts. They aren't doing actual parkour, they are literally jumping onto office furniture, rolling across desks, knocking over plants, and yelling the word parkour. as if the vocalization itself validates their movement. It's a commentary on corporate boredom and the desperate desire to be part of pop culture trend. They aren't doing it because they are athletic. They are doing it because they saw it on the internet and wanted their mundane lives to feel cinematic. The climax of the open takes place in the parking lot. They plan a complex route, truck to refrigerators to dumpster, 360 spin onto the pallet, backflip gainer into the trash can. Andy Bernard, fueled by his need to impress Michael and Dwight, screams hardcore parkour and leaps off a roof straight into a cardboard box that completely collapses. The immediate cut back to reality, the illusion instantly shattering the moment physical pain enters the equation, is a masterclass in comedic timing. It represents that specific era of television where internet culture was starting heavily into traditional media, and The Office captured that cultural shift better than anyone else. Next up, the compilation takes us into the dark, twisted, and Emmy-worthy world of Dinner Party. Widely considered by critics and fans to be one of the greatest episodes in television history, this segment shows us the absolute peak of the Michael and John saga. The scene opens with Michael trying to comfort a visibly stressed Jan, telling her she has beautiful bosom, and adding the devastatingly funny line, "You can't even tell they're fake unless you're naked." The comedy here is multi-layered. Michael is trying to be supportive, but his lack of social boundaries completely derails the compliment. Then he complains about his cell phone plan, mentioning he only has 20 anytime minutes, and each minute after is 75 cents. It's a hilarious time capsule of 2008 mobile technology, but it also shows how financially strained Michael is because of John's spending habit. When the guests arrive, the passive-aggressive warfare begins. Dwight brings his former babysitter as his date, describing the relationship as purely carnal. Angela's intense hatred for beets becomes a weapon of psychological warfare. When offered beet salad, she states, "The thought of popping one of your beets into my mouth makes me want to vomit." The tension in that dining room is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Michael genuinely believes John might be trying to poison the food, admitting to the camera that if she were to poison anyone, it would naturally be him, her former lover. But the absolute peak of comedic tension comes down to a neon beer sign. Michael wants to leave his neon corporate beer sign up in the dining room because he thinks it ties the whole room together. Jan, trying to maintain an illusion of high-class sophistication in their modest condo, demands it come down. This tiny, glowing sign becomes the physical manifestation of their entire broken relationship. We also get a glimpse into Jan's delusion regarding her former assistant, Hunter, and his music. When Jim notes that Hunter isn't that good, Jan defensively calls him an artist. Michael, feeling emasculated, lashes out, "BFD, I'm a screenwriter and a candle maker, but you don't hear me bragging about it." The argument spirals until Michael drops a "that's what she said" during a discussion about burning candle, breaking the tension for the audience, but completely destroying the domestic peace of the dinner party. The writing here is brilliant because it forces the audience into a state of extreme discomfort, yet you cannot look away. It's a masterclass in situational irony and domestic horror played for laughs. As we progress deeper into the compilation, the show leans into high-concept absurdity. First, we have the pizza delivery kid hostage situation. Let's look at how a simple dispute over a pizza coupon escalates into a federal crime. Michael and Dwight literally lock a teenager in the conference room because he refuses to honor a corporate discount. The dialogue in this room is a brilliant display of contrasting logic. Dwight treats the kid like a prisoner of war from his hemp farm, while Michael genuinely believes he is fighting a righteous battle for consumer right. When Jim walks in and points out the obvious, "You kidnapped a kid," Michael's defense is legendary. "I'm keeping him until I get what I want as a hostage." "I think you're overthinking." Jim's deadpan reply, "I think you're underthinking it," perfectly anchors the scene in reality. The resolution, forced by Ryan over a webcam, involves Michael paying full price for the pizzas and leaving a tip of no more than 10%. The sheer anti-climax of Michael awkwardly letting the kid go, followed by his complaint that he needs to get the horrible taste of this pizza out of my mouth by getting authentic New York-style sushi, shows that Michael learns absolutely nothing from his brush with the law. This leads seamlessly into another iconic, high-concept scene, the Mafia. Michael, Dwight, and Andy go to a lunch meeting with an insurance salesman named Schrute, whom Dwight is convinced is a high-ranking mob boss. To blend in and protect Michael, Andy dresses up as a mechanic, carrying a tire iron as a concealed weapon. When Michael asks if he knows how to use it to change tires, Andy replies with absolute confidence, "No, but it's metal. I can hit somebody with it." The ordering sequence at the restaurant is a masterclass in American pop culture reference. Michael, influenced heavily by movies like The Godfather and shows like The Sopranos, tries to sound like a seasoned gangster. He orders the gabagool. When the waiter understandably has no idea what that is, Michael double downs on the pronunciation, growing increasingly anxious. Meanwhile, Andy's complete failure to perform basic mechanical duties, like helping a stranded mother jumpstart her car in the park, unravels their entire cover. He returns to the table flustered, admitting he had a long day at the mechanic store.
The humor here comes from the characters trying to live inside a Hollywood movie script while trapped in the devastatingly mundane reality of a suburban Italian restaurant. The final segment of the compilation takes us into the transitional era of the show, the post-Michael Scott landscape where characters like D'Angelo Vickers, played by the brilliant Will Ferrell, entered the mix. This era often gets a bad reputation from purists, but looking at it through the lens of this compilation, the comedic DNA of the show remained intact. We see Andy trying desperately to reinvent himself in the eyes of the new boss. He hands D'Angelo his resume, hoping to be viewed as a serious professional rather than just the funny. It's the same cyclical nature of Dunder Mifflin. A new authority figure arrives, and the ecosystem immediately reshapes itself around brown-nosed desperation and corporate survival. We also see the toxic, yet undeniably entertaining relationship between Ryan and Kelly reach its logical conclusion. Ryan strongly implies to D'Angelo that he is Kelly's supervisor. When Kelly confronts him about the lie, Ryan tries to save face by quoting Bruno Mars' lyric, "I'd catch a grenade for you." Kelly's immediate, exhausted response, "Do not quote Bruno Mars to me. You lie all the time. You just like to lie," is a hilarious acknowledgement of Ryan's devolution from a normal temp into a pretentious, manipulative hipster. The compilation ends on a beautifully petty note between D'Angelo and Stan. D'Angelo tries to force his way into Stanley's good grace, screaming, "I'm going to win you over."